Hey, Joe here. Have you ever wondered how you could find, hire, and train really good virtual assistants to run your business for you? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that on this video right here, right now. All right, so hey, I'm filming this video right now in the restaurant of our golf course country club here, and they're closed, so this is a great little environment to film some videos. And I've been thinking a lot about this. How do you outsource your business to somebody else? How can you hire virtual assistants to run your business for you? And I remember early on when I was doing deals, kind of going from part-time doing deals into full-time doing deals. And I remember my coach telling me at the time, get your marketing done for you in spite of you, right? And I tried to do it myself. I tried to time block on my calendar, okay, every morning, and I still had a full-time job, time blocking when I was going to do my marketing, when I was going to talk to sellers, and when I was going to send my offers and do my follow-up and all of that stuff. And I quickly got bogged down in the minutia, the details, the $5 an hour activities. And I was not able to focus on the $500 an hour activities. So I remembered my coach saying, get your marketing done for you in spite of you. So this was, if you guys remember the book, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And he came out with this book. Everybody's talking about getting virtual assistants. And I thought, oh, that sounds strange. Like, how does that work? And so I was too scared to hire a virtual assistant from overseas, you know, India, Pakistan, the Philippines, and stuff like that. So I remember going to, I think it was Odesk at the time, and I found a US-based virtual assistant, and she was actually in Indiana. And I haven't talked to her in years. I wish I could remember her name. But anyway, I hired her to do my marketing. I said, hey, I need some help. And at the time, I was finding landlords on Craigslist, and I was sending them voice blasts, voice messages, and ringless voicemails and text messages. And I was just asking them, hey, could I rent your property for a little bit and then buy it? And so she would send 50 to 100 a day for me, and then she would give me the leads. And so the great thing now was I was getting leads coming in my inbox, and I was focused on just talking to sellers and making offers, not chasing them, doing all this marketing. I remember being really, really nervous about hiring a virtual assistant, and she was amazing, this lady. I think her name was Karen. I remember my business completely took off at that point, because now I have, my pipeline is always full of leads. What was happening was, I've talked about this a lot, but what was happening was I would do a bunch of marketing, get a bunch of leads, and then start working these deals, and I'd shut my marketing off. And then I turned around, and after I do a deal 2-3 months later and I'm making some money, I turn around and my pipeline is completely empty. Well, it's not like a light switch you can just turn on and the leads start flowing in. It doesn't work like that. It takes time, it takes momentum. It takes, again, another 2 or 3 months to get your pipeline full with leads again. So I was going through this really vicious up and down roller coaster of not getting enough leads. That's the first thing I outsourced, is I hired a virtual assistant then to do my leads. And I remember too, this virtual assistant I had, she told me, hey, I see you're doing this and this. I think there might be a better way to do this. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And it was one of the first lessons I learned with my VAs, is that a lot of times they have really good ideas of different tools or softwares or different ways you can do certain things, because a lot of them work for other clients. And so she was telling me, hey, I'm doing some work for another client who does something similar to you, and he uses this website, and he uses this paperwork, and he does it this way. And like she's giving me ideas. She was teaching me some stuff. And what was crazy was I said, well, who's this guy? And I found out who he was, and I actually got his phone number and I called him. And we were using the same virtual assistant. That's a long, long time ago. That was about 15 years ago. But anyway, I started getting excited about virtual assistants. And so I'm going to share with you in this video how to find them, how to hire them, and how to train them. It's very, very simple. But first, you got to kind of start with, there's really only 3 things your virtual assistant should be doing for you, okay? Number 1, they should be doing your marketing, all of your marketing. They should be doing it. Now, they may not be the ones that are sending the letters themselves, right? But they're at least making sure that the list gets downloaded, the list gets uploaded, it's going to the right person, it's going to the right mail house, they're getting the mail, they're sending it out, and they're tracking all of your numbers, okay? So they're making sure the marketing's going out, they're tracking your KPIs or your key performance indicators, right? So just again to reiterate, the VA's number 1 job is to do the marketing. So they're either doing the marketing themselves or they're managing whoever else is doing the marketing. So you got to understand, like, marketing has got to get done for you in spite of you. So the VA may be managing the direct mail company, or they may be the one that's actually making the phone calls or sending the messages or sending the emails or pulling, I use VAs to scrape data from different websites, all right? So you've got the VAs doing the marketing, that's number one. Number two is your VAs should be updating your CRM, okay? I don't care how new you are in the business, if you've never done a deal before, you need some kind of database, some kind of software to manage and track all your leads. You need to operate under this philosophy, and this is what I tell my VAs. We operate under no lead left behind. You wanna make sure no lead gets left behind, every lead gets an offer. And so sometimes it's easy to get buried in yellow Post-it notes or yellow legal pads of paper, and you're talking to so many sellers, you're taking all these notes and you're just jumping from here to here to there, and you're not keeping an updated database on these leads, when you talk to them, when you said you would send them something back, and the motivation of the lead. And so if you're talking to 3, 4, 5 sellers a day, it can get really soon, if you're like me, on the third or fourth seller that you've talked to, you've completely forgotten the conversation that you had a couple hours ago with this other seller, number one, that you talked to today. So you need a VA that updates the CRM for you. So this is how it works. For instance, I use Freedomsoft. Go check out freedomsoftjoe.com. It's my custom signature edition of Freedomsoft. And I make my VAs be the Freedomsoft experts. I want them, so I make them go through all of the Freedomsoft training videos, all right? I'm not gonna teach them Freedomsoft. I want Freedomsoft to teach them how to use Freedomsoft. So they learn how to use it, and then I tell them, okay, I'm getting these leads coming in, and I want you to update the CRM. So when a lead comes in, I look at it, and then I call the seller, I chicken scratch my notes on a legal pad of paper or whatever, and then I use WhatsApp or Voxer, Voxer, and I message my VA, hey, I just talked to the seller at 123 Main Street, go ahead and mark it as cold, and remind me in 30 days to call them back, okay? Or I might say, mark the lead as warm, go ahead and send them an offer for $45,000 and remind me in 3 days to call them back. So I'm messaging the VA my detailed notes, and then I just dictate the notes that I just wrote down, send them to the VA. The VA then goes into the CRM and updates it with the notes. Sometimes if you use a service that records your phone calls, you can send a recording of the call to the VA. The VA can transcribe the call, maybe listen to it, take notes, put it in that record. So then a week later, a month later, when you go back and that task pops up, hey, I got to call the seller back, I got to follow up or send an offer, whatever, you can see your notes in there that your VA put in there for you. Okay, so this is really important. With your CRM, if you're going to be operating under no lead left behind, and every lead gets an offer, and every offer gets followed up every 30 days, you need to have real good detailed notes in there, right? So every day, your VA should get a list. They should open up the CRM and they see a task, not overdue tasks, all right? They see tasks of what they have to do that day. And that's their number one job, is complete each of those tasks. It might be follow up, send a letter, send an offer, remind Joe to call them or whatever. And so when they complete that task, or they tell you about it and you complete the task, they go back in and you need to complete the old task and create a new one. So my VA understands that they have to learn how to be organized in Freedomsoft, or the CRM you're using. They have to know how to keep everything labeled and in the right categories and with tasks, everything. So you can't just mark a lead as follow-up with no task of when to follow up or what to follow up with or whatever. Does that make sense? So whatever CRM you're using, you need to have your VA be that expert of the CRM. The other day, I saw this postcard that I liked, and I could have gone in and created it in my CRM, but I just took a screenshot of that postcard, sent it to my VA, and I said, hey, put this postcard in my Freedomsoft account, and they did. And then I was on a coaching call with a client. I said, hey, put that postcard in their account. And before I even ended that call, that VA already had that postcard in their account, in their Freedomsoft account. So one more thing too with that, speaking of CRMs, Freedomsoft now does direct mail. So I can have my VA do the direct mail from inside of Freedomsoft. I don't have to use third-party direct mail companies, and it's cheaper to do it in Freedomsoft. Freedomsoft allows me to send one at a time, 20, 500, 5,000 at a time, and it costs me the same discounted low price for each of those. So Freedomsoft has training videos on how to do direct mail, how to import lists, how to map the fields, when a lead comes in, how to link it to that record that's in the list, to the new lead in the campaign, right? So you don't need to learn this stuff. Just make your VAs do it for you, all right? So number one, your VA does the marketing. Number two, your VA updates the CRM. And the third most important thing that your VA does all your follow-up. You need to make sure your VA follows up with all of your leads. It could be sending a letter, it could be making a phone call, it could be sending an email, a text message, some direct mail. So there's a lot of different follow-up that your VAs can do for you. So your VA has to understand that every lead gets followed up with every 30 days. So your VA can do all of this. They should be able to do all of this follow-up in the CRM. So they have to understand every day the first thing you do is you go in and you look at all your tasks. Are there any follow-up that you have to do with old leads? Sometimes the follow-up is you making a phone call, all right? So your VA could like email you first thing in the morning. Like I learned this from my friend Tom Kroll. Every morning his VA, he had a special email address that only his VA had. And every morning she would send him 3 emails. And in each email was one seller that he needed to call and follow up. And she would put everything that he needed in that email. And so he would look at the email, he would call the seller, chicken scratch his notes, and then Voxer or WhatsApp a message back to that VA. All right, hey, I talked to that seller, and this is what we said, this is what's going to happen, this is what we need to do next. And then he sent that VA that message, audio message. The VA would go in and update the CRM. Do you see what I'm saying here? So follow-up is really, really important. Now, where do you find these VAs? Well, 2 of my favorite places to find these VAs, 2 websites. Upwork.com, and then the second one is onlinejobs.ph. Now, I like hiring Filipino VAs. They're very smart, they're hardworking, and they're not that expensive. Now, sometimes you get what you pay for, but I've got great VAs that I've hired for $3, $4, $5 an hour. Most of my VAs now make $7 or $8 an hour, which is good. It's kind of a, I don't want to say upper middle class, but it's a good middle class salary. It's amazing to me though. You'll find college-educated Filipino virtual assistants that are very smart, very hardworking, very ethical, that will work for you for $5 to $10 an hour, which is a great salary. So one of the keys, and I'll talk about this later, is you have to make sure you pay your virtual assistants well, and that's what I do. So when you go to websites like Upwork or onlinejobs.ph, this is what I suggest you do. Remember, keeping in mind, you only want your VAs to be doing 3 things for you really at first. Your marketing, updating your CRM, and doing all your follow-up for you. Sometimes we have our VAs make phone calls for us. Sometimes we don't, but they need to have decent English. So they kind of need to have strong organizational skills. You need to have good English, and almost all of my VAs, actually all of them, have had really good English. I wouldn't hesitate to let any of them talk to sellers and clients. And then they need to be good with technology. So when I hire a VA, I'll go to these places. And the great thing about Upwork and onlinejobs.ph is you can find VAs there and you can see how previous employers have rated them, previous job performance and stuff like that. So I will hire 3 or 4 VAs for one job. And what I like to do, and I tell them, I say, hey, I'm going to put you into a test. I'll give you 3 or 4 things to do, and at the end of the week, I'm going to keep one of you. So I'm hiring 4 VAs that I've pre-screened, I've interviewed them briefly. I hire the best 4 and I give them some tests. And one of them is, I want you to go find 5 rentals on Zillow and call the landlords or the property managers and ask them these questions for me, okay? And make sure you record all the calls. I tell them to do this inside of Freedomsoft so I can hear the calls, because I want to hear how they can have a conversation with these people, how does that go? And then I tell them some other things. Like if this is somebody that is maybe needs to be stronger with websites or my CRM, I might say, okay, now I want you to go watch this video, we'll watch these training videos in Freedomsoft on how to build a website. And I want you to build a website that looks like this. I don't tell them how to do it. I tell them go learn how to do it from their tutorials and then do it yourself. And let me know if you have any questions. Then I'll also do some things like, all right, I want you to go to homes.com and I want you to find 50 properties that have been on the market for longer than 90 days, that have had a price reduction in the last 30 days, that are between 1 acre to 2 acres in this county. And I want you to put into a spreadsheet this information. And I give them 5 things. I want the link to the property, I want the acre size of the property, I want the name of the realtor, the phone number of the realtor, the email of the realtor, and I want the APN number or the parcel ID of the property. So I tell them like very specific instructions. And what I'm testing here is to see how good they are with following my instructions. And I tell them I want you to go scrape 50 properties that meet this criteria, put them in this spreadsheet with these 5 columns, okay? And then that means I'm not telling them how to go open a Google Sheet. I'm hoping that they know how to do that. And then I'll tell them something like this. This sounds weird, but I'll say, I want you to put a title on that spreadsheet and call it Lee County, Florida, old listings, and then put this date on there, 1/29/74 or whatever, okay? And then when you're done with that, send me an email that you're done with a link to the spreadsheet, and in the subject line, put a smiley face in the subject line, okay? And this is what I'm doing. And the crazy thing is you might hire 3 or 4 people, but usually after putting them into these tests, I find 1 or 2 really, really good VAs. And I'm looking for somebody that gets it done and follows all my detailed step-by-step instructions and does not forget to put in the smiley face in the subject line, right? And I'm also looking for somebody that can go to YouTube and do some research on how to do this, or go watch the tutorials in Freedomsoft on how to do that. And they know how to learn on their own how to do certain things, right? And they followed my detailed step-by-step instructions. I'm telling you, I have had great success over the years finding really good, rock-solid VAs because I test them in advance and I keep the best ones. I've had VAs that have worked for me for years and years, and because I just tested them, okay? Another really important key when you find the good VA is you have to talk to them every day, okay? This sounds crazy. You're like, well, Joe, I'm hiring VAs, so I don't have to do the work, right? No, but I'm just talking about daily communication. Maybe it's, hey, real quick on Skype or FaceTime or Facebook Messenger, check in, how's it going, okay? Or what did you get accomplished yesterday? What are you going to do today? I like to give my VAs scorecards, all right? Whatever it is, maybe make the VA come up with the metrics that you need to follow every day. How much marketing went out the door? How many leads came in? You know, maybe the VA tracks where the leads came from, so you can track which marketing is working or not. Don't think that you have to figure that out. Like you don't have to be the one to create the spreadsheet. Tell the VA, I want you to create a spreadsheet that tracks all of our marketing so we can see what's working and what's not. So the VA then tracks the leads and attributes them to the postcards or the letters or the cold calls or whatnot. So every day the VA has some kind of numbers or some kind of metrics they need to follow. And then you're just tracking. All right, you look at their spreadsheet every day and you want to know where the bottlenecks are. Because sometimes VAs, they get stuck with like, well, you told me you wanted to do this, but I'm having this problem, or the website won't let me do this. And you don't want to be like 2 months later when you finally do talk to them, you find out that they've been doing it wrong all this time, and it's not their fault, it's yours because you didn't explain this stuff to them. So the daily communication is real important, because one of the things I've learned with VAs is when they're having a problem, when they're stuck or something, they're very reluctant to tell you they're having a problem with something. They're just hoping that they're doing it right. So again, you don't want to be finding out 2 weeks later that something's been done wrong and you get mad and upset, but it's your fault. So you got to like have that regular communication. And so it could be at the beginning you're talking to them every day on Zoom, but maybe later it's every couple days. Right now what I do is I have 2 local US-based assistants, and they are the ones now that talk to the VAs. Every morning at 9 a.m. they have a meeting and they just talk about things. We also use Slack for communications channel. All of our communication from the team happens inside of that Slack, and it's been great. I have fantastic VAs, and I have a team that manages the VAs now for me. So that's so important. Do you understand? You've got to have daily communications. I would say if there's any one reason why people fail with having unsuccessful VAs, it's a lack of communication, because there's got to be the accountability there. All right, let me say one more thing about VAs. One of the other things that they should be doing for you is they should be creating your own standard operating procedures, your SOPs. You need to give your VAs the responsibility of training their replacement, okay? What I mean by that is that VA may not work for you forever, right? They may be sick. If they're a good VA, you want to promote them to a manager or something like that. So you want to tell the VA, I want you to create an SOP, a standard operating procedure, a manual or something, on everything that you do. Because if you're sick, or if the business grows and I need to hire somebody to help you, or if you quit and leave, I want to be able to give to them a Google Doc that has step-by-step detailed instructions of everything you do and how you do it, with written word and Loom videos or some kind of screenshot videos. I like to use Loom, L-O-O-M, but tell the VA that's what I want you to do. And so for every different thing that you do, create a new Google Doc. And this is really simple. I used to do this myself, and I was like, wait a minute. I would train the VAs myself. I'll tell the VA what my goal is. I'll give the VA a scorecard, but the VA can figure out how to do that and let the VA do all of that work of creating that SOP. So I say, start a Google Doc, just bullet point everything that we do, all right? and then create a Loom video, a screenshot video of you actually doing that stuff. And then Loom will give you a link that you can put at the top of that Google Doc. So if, for example, if it's like I was mentioning before, going to homes.com and scraping properties there, create a Google Doc, an SOP called homes.com marketing, okay? Bullet point everything that we do there. At the top, start with the goals and then step by step. And then to actually do a video of you doing that, right? So then if that VA quits or you have to hire another one for help or whatever, you share that Google Doc with that new hire. Isn't that awesome? Now you can get somebody else to create the procedures in your business. And there's a lot of tools that can do that stuff, but you shouldn't be the one doing it. Okay, the final thing is you need to pay your VAs well. Now I have a lot of Filipino VAs, and one of the standard customary things that we do, which is I think standard in their culture, is every Christmas we give them 1 month salary as a bonus, all right? And our VAs I love my VAs. They're really, really smart. They work really, really hard. I'm glad to pay them these bonuses. So I give them raises just like you do with employees here in the US. We give them annual raises, and then we give them a bonus, usually of 1 month's salary. But you know, they need to make money too, right? Just like we all do, obviously. And so we need to change our mentality to treat our virtual assistants like they are local US-based assistants working for us in our office. It's really critical important that you pay your VAs well, because the better trained they get, all right, they're getting approached by other real estate investors. I've had my VAs been approached 100 times from other people like, hey, oh, you work for Joe, I'll pay you $1 an hour more or whatever. But my VAs stay with me because we communicate well. I reward them regularly, and they enjoy working with me, all right? So really important keys there, okay? Number one, there's only 3 things your VA should be doing: marketing, updating your CRM, and doing your follow-up, okay? The most important thing when you hire VAs is daily communication. You've got to keep the windows open, okay? The other thing that's important is making your VAs, when you hire them, hire 3, test them with different things and see which ones do the work the best, the fastest, who follow your detailed step-by-step instructions, and remember the little details like the smiley face in the subject line, okay? Hire the best ones. The other thing we talked about is make them create the SOPs for your business. That's how you can grow and scale. So when that VA quits or you have to hire another one, those VAs can train your new VAs for you. Does that make sense? And then the final thing is pay them well, right? Give them bonuses, be the nice guy, don't be the jerk, okay? And you're gonna have a lot of success. So here's the crazy thing, guys. Again, if you really be intentional about this, you can make a lot of money. Your business can really, really scale with virtual assistants. I know so many guys that are doing $1 million a year, millions of dollars a year, with just a team of foreign virtual assistants from the Philippines, okay? Appreciate you all. Listen, if you like this video, please thumbs up, comment, subscribe to my channel, and let me know what you think down below in the comments, all right? Also, I have other videos on my channel about virtual assistants. So if you go to my Joe McCall channel, just do a search for Joe McCall Virtual Assistants, and you'll find some other videos that I've done on this very subject, okay? So I appreciate you guys. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.